this episode, I would like to share an experience of a place that I truly consider to be heaven. So, let's get into it. But before we begin, I want to emphasize to you that I am in no way claiming to know specifically what happens after we die and what heaven truly is. The only thing I can do really is offer my observations. And the one consistent thing that I can tell you over the past 40 plus years of having these experiences is that I have more questions than I do answers. So let's get started. Like so many astonishing things that have happened to me when I've left my body, this was just a normal night. I was going to bed and, I was thinking about leaving my body and about exploring. And it's interesting because that particular night, I made the decision to focus on love. And, I think so many of us, perhaps we take it for granted, love, because love is the most powerful force in the universe, in existence. And for those of you who are leaving your body, if you focus on love, you will see, I believe you will see, some truly amazing things. So that evening, I focused on love. And of course, on any given night, I can have a desire to leave my body, but it doesn't always work. Sometimes I fall asleep, just like everybody else, even though I've been doing it for so long. On this particular night, I did not. On this night, I left my body focused on love. And when I emerged, I didn't emerge in my apartment. I emerged in another place. I will take a moment really truly to try and describe it to you, but I don't know that words could ever do it justice. It was a room of some sort, but I don't want you to think of it as a room in the sense of it had borders. It did, but it didn't. It felt like a room that could go on forever. One of the first things I noticed about this place when I came in, so I was standing there and I was like, what is this place? I'm looking around. The walls appeared to be forged from light. But this light wasn't simply light. It seemed to be a living entity in of itself, alive. And as I looked at the walls, I just have to tell you, I was speechless. I was just in amazement. This light wasn't bright, but it was brilliant at the same time. And it was warm. And I don't know what to tell you. It was absolutely beautiful, these walls in this place. Then I noticed a globe. And when I say globe, I want you to imagine what it was like perhaps in elementary school and maybe even in high school, where you had those globes, where you use them in geography to point out the different countries, which many times were labeled on those globes. But I want to tell you that this globe wasn't like that. Although I could reach out with my two hands and hold it, at least that's what I felt like I could do. This was Earth, or at least it appeared to be. It appeared to be Earth. And it was turning slowly in midair, floating and turning slowly in midair as if it were in space. And I stared at this for a while. I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And in that moment, after seeing the globe, I saw a man. And this man had on a white robe. He was African American, like myself. He was a little older. And the one thing I noticed about him, it's interesting what stays in your mind after you see something or someone. The one thing that I noticed about this man was how perfect his goatee was. And I still remember this. His goatee was perfect. The lines were perfect on his beard. Everything was perfect. And then I looked at his eyes, and his eyes glowed. But it wasn't like he had eyes and they were just glowing. To me, it seemed that his eyes were forged of light, perhaps the same light that I was seeing in the walls. I don't know. But I approached this man, and I don't know why, I just knew I could say anything to him. And, you know, even though I can't say that I've ever seen him before, somehow I felt at that time as if I'd known him forever. And when I walked up to him, at the time, it's interesting. I've talked about telepathy a little bit here and there. I may do an entire episode on telepathy, but in my experiences in the astral plane and beyond, I've noticed that many times I don't have to use words to communicate with other beings. And this was definitely the case. I mean, at the time I was going through something really trying in my life. It was very difficult. And I remember approaching this man and saying, I'm scared. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I didn't say it in words. It was like I felt it or I thought it or both. And this man simply took me in his arms. He held me and he gently kissed me on the cheek. Can I just tell you that I have never in my life, not even from my mother, not from a family member, not from anyone in my life, have I ever felt a love like that. It was literally overwhelming, this love, as if I wouldn't have been able to take it inside. It was so much. After he held me, we walked up and approached one of those walls. And it seemed like this wall, one of the walls that we approached anyway, it became almost like a mirror. And I was standing with him and he had his arm around me. And of course I could see him and he was bigger than me. It was almost like he was like a parent and I was a child. And I could see myself. And I believe I too was wearing a white robe. And my eyes were glowing too. They were glowing as well. And at the time when I was looking at this, I was like, wow. I mean, I really couldn't put it into words what this experience was. I really couldn't. Then we turned, we started to walk. I remember we walked towards some kind of hallway out of the room. And as we were walking with his hand still around me, I was suddenly back in my body. I opened my eyes and I was like, wow. So, heaven. I don't know if what I experienced was heaven or not. But deep inside, deep inside, my feeling is that if it wasn't heaven, it was very, very close. Thank you so much for coming with me on another journey. And until next time, take care.